Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who's here to puff it in. You say, I'm not here to, I'm here to puff it in instead of packing it. Puff it in, smooth it in, pat it in. Oh boy, and if you have any furry friends around, I'm here to pet it in. I don't think you can pet it in. But oh boy, do those petty poos love their pets, right? Don't forget, as part of your bedtime wind down routine, to pet one of your furry friends, right? Cats, dogs, petable friends everywhere. You know what they love? They love when I remind you that it's time to pet them because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And if you're a regular listener, if I could just have your attention for the next few minutes, these are the ways we keep the show free for everybody. Hey, are you a Sleep With Me podcast patron, or have you been one in the past? Because we got a really, really exciting announcement. Or if you're on the fence, you've been thinking about it, but you said, well, what's in it for me? Or, you just kind of say, well, I keep putting it off, Scoots. Well, don't put it off any longer, because starting September 15th, you'll start to hear about this. We're going to do, because the patrons, the show reached 800 episodes and over 100 million downloads recently. And we would not have been able to do that as a free podcast without the patrons who support the show. And so we're going to do a time capsule. And if you've ever been a patron from the beginning, whether you signed up and you're no longer a patron or you're just about to become one, you're going to get it to be a part of this time capsule. And if you supported the show by other means, don't worry, you'll hear about other ways to sign up for it. But really, the patrons have carried the show on their backs. I wouldn't have been able to do it, or I would have had to put the podcast as part of some service without the support of the patrons. And the reason people become patrons is, they're part of a community that keeps the podcast free for everybody. And I know they feel a lot of pride. You should if you're a patron and you're listening. And so this time capsule is going to be symbolic of all the people that made these 800 episodes possible, that made these hundreds of millions of downloads possible. And if that sounds interesting to you and you want to sign up, just go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. You could still be a part of it. Not only that, you get your own RSS feed with ad-free episodes and story-only episodes starting at $5, and then $10 and up patrons. And those are full episodes. The only thing they're missing is the ads. And then $10 up patrons just get a couple all-intro episodes every month. So if you like the all-intro episodes, they get an all-night episode. They get story-only episodes. You can find out more at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, but you just pay attention because none of this wouldn't have been possible. Because none of this would have been possible without your support. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for making this podcast possible. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone. That's right, it's a part of the podcast. I need you to hear it. Keeps it free for everybody. And I wanted to thank BDSA and a couple people who emailed me and said they supported Feels. BDSA and a few other people signed up to get premium CBD from Feels. You can check out Feels too. Become a member today. You go to feels.com/sleep. You'll get 50% off when you sign up for a membership and free shipping. That's feals.com/sleep. Thanks to BDSA. Thanks to everybody for supporting the sponsors. When you support a sponsor, let me know about it. Let the sponsor know about it. And let me know what you enjoyed about it too, so I can say thanks. And this is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into that. So, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Song. Sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. A great way to help the show is just spread the word. That's the number one way the show grows. And how people hear about it is really helpful for the podcast, also for other people. You say, hey, you're having trouble sleeping. Are you looking for something a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, but, just tell them your natural experience with the show. Thank you so much, and let me know so I can thank you. And that's it. What do you say? We get on with the show. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, so stuff you're thinking about or stuff you're feeling. It could be travel, whatever it is, whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. I got a nice, safe place set aside here. Or, you know what, the great thing is I'm coming to your safe place. So even, go ahead and make it a little more cozy. What else? I'm going to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you... No, I said that. Thoughts, feelings, physical time. I'm going to send my voice... I got to send my voice across the deep, dark night. That's what I'm going to do next. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, forgetfulness, pointless meanders, banter, so friendly banter, and many other, basically I'm just going to be here to keep you company as you fall asleep. I guess it's not basically, overcomplicatedly. Has there ever been a musical with the song "It's Complicated," either as the title or like as the chorus sings that "It's complicated"? Because I'm hearing that right now, but it's not that complicated, like in some sense. So I'm going to do all those things. Really, what I'm going to do is keep you company as you drift off. Now, if you're new and you're here, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for checking the podcast out. What I do, or the way the show works, is a little bit different. So if you're skeptical or you're not sure how to feel, that's perfectly normal, because this is, like, of course, I say I'm going to put you to sleep, so you're going to want more details, and I'm going to try to give them to you. Unfortunately, I have trouble delivering anything in a straightforward and clear way, but that's also kind of how the podcast works. So what I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? I'm going to... structure. What I was going to try to do is give you some details. So if you're new, one thing that a reviewer just said is kind of like almost to look at the show in a loose way, especially when you first listen, like let it drift in one ear and out the other. I thought that was a good analogy for the podcast. But what was I going to say? So structurally, what to expect? Well, let me tell you what to expect. Show starts off with a few minutes of business. And that's how we keep the podcast free for everybody. Then there's an intro, which we're doing right now. And the intros are like 12 to 15 minutes or so of me kind of describing the podcast, setting the mood in some sense, and kind of just getting you familiar. But also, it serves a dual purpose of being a long welcome. I guess have I ever described the podcast like this? It is a bit like somebody welcoming into I'm like welcoming you into, I was just thinking of the analogy of like someone welcoming you to their house. Like usually they greet you at the door. I'm picturing a potluck situation where I'm bringing a bedtime. Well, I guess I'm the greeter, even though it's your house, which is different. But so I guess that's why it would take so long. Like the intro, you say, okay, how's this work? Well, I brought a potluck, but this is my house. Well, yeah, I'll take that meat. Those are biscuits. Great. Well, so good to see you. Well, come on in. Well, before you come in, let me see. So let me run down what we're doing tonight. we're having a potluck dinner. Okay, so maybe I'll get back to that analogy, but I think you know where I'm going. So the intro, it just takes a while because it serves a dual purpose of also a lot of people wind down during the intro. They're getting ready for bed or they're already in bed. And I'm helping ease you off into bedtime. That's really the goal. Because this podcast doesn't really work in an instantaneous way. And some people listen to it during the day to relax, and then some people skip the story. You say, well, where's the story? And I say about 15, I mean, if you want to skip it, just go 18 to 20 minutes into the show, and then you'll get it there. Yeah, so that's the intro. It's like something to wind down to as you get ready for bed. Then there's the bedtime story. You say, well, I need a little bit more. I like to get in bed. I like to brush my teeth during the intro, get ready. And then I'm in bed and I'm doodling and, get the fan going. And then, then I'm listening to your story and I'm drifting off. So this is the intro. Then there's some business between the intro and the story. And then there's a story, it'll be like a random story tonight. And then there's some thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. And what else do you need to know? You don't really need to listen to me. So I guess that would be different. I'm trying to think of that analogy. Well, I guess, here's the thing. If this is, I know this is, a little bit hard to hold in your mind. So you only have to, if I was welcoming you into your own home and, for example, wasn't confusing or strange at all, then I'd say, okay, let me, you wouldn't need to listen to me, right? If the next thing I did was oh, well, come on in, let me show you around, you would immediately know, well, this is my house. I don't really, I'm going to play along with Scoots, but I don't really need to, I don't need to listen. Because you say, well, here's where, this is the room where you sit around. This is where we're going to put all the pot. This is where we're going to have the food. This is where we're going to sit. This is where I'm going to regale you with my adventurous tales of shoelace collecting. And even then you would have another level. You'd say, okay, well, he's going to tell us about a shoelace collection later. I don't even if you wanted to be interested in that, I'm sure unless you were a shoelace collector and you'd say also Scoots is more of a, what is it if you're a shoelace collector that doesn't take it seriously? You'd say, well, this shoelace was on my 1987 New Balance, and I have it here. Just wanted to show it to you. No, there's no way to know it's from a New Balance because it's just a beige shoelace. But that's why it has 3 knots in it, so I know. That's a corresponding knot code is 3 knots on the left side. It means that it's from 1987. Oh, what's that? How do I know the left side of a shoelace from the right side? What do you mean these knots are on the left? Oh, if I flip it over. Oh, dear. There goes my shoelace categorizing system. Glad we're having this potluck, but in that you feel like you're oh, I see you're nodding off there. I was going to tell you about this other shoelace that has 2 knots on the right and 1 on the left. So I don't know if this one's from 2014 or 1418. I did have one shoelace. Oh, no, wait. That makes total sense. It must be from 2014 because I realized I never had any shoelaces in 14, 18 anyway. So this one, I do know what year it's from. Oh, no, maybe that's not. I don't know. Maybe that knot looks fresh, though. So maybe that was an accidental knot. I may have to come up with a better system for organizing my shoelace collection. So you don't need to listen to me. Also, there's no pressure to fall asleep, which would be the reverse of this example. In a social situation, even if you were the faux host like you are in this example, you would probably feel like you need to pay attention and humor me because I'm your guest. And you'd say, oh, could you tell me, what seems exciting is that zebra shoelace. Could you tell me about that one? Is that from like a set of LA Gear or something? Or like one of those pump it up, that looks like you really like had an adventure. Tell me all about that zebra shoelace. You wouldn't have to humor me, but that would probably, like, if you're in this situation again, good catch. That probably is like the one that most likely to have a story, except in this situation. I say, oh yeah, this shoelace, like I got at a 99-cent store last week. I said, do you have any shoelaces? And they said, I don't know. And I said, do you sell any shoelaces as a representative of this establishment? And they said, look in aisle 11A. And then I headed there, and that's where I found this shoelace. Believe it or not, it was like a pair for 99 cents. And I asked, then I went up and I said, could I buy one for 50? And then they still looked at me blankly. And they said, no, you cannot. But then someone behind me in line, they said, I just happen to need a zebra shoelace for a craft my child has due tomorrow at school. It's for binding a book about zebras, a report. What are the odds? And I'd say, they're good right now. That I'll tell you what. How does it sound if you pay 50 and I pay 49? And they said, as long as you get the tax. And I said, touche, because that meant that I had to pay more. But it was we all laughed. And so that's like that's my shoelace. That's the shoelace stories. A new podcast coming out this fall. Shoelace stories. Sorry, I got lost there. So that's, I guess, a little bit about, maybe that'll be tonight's story. Who knows? What was I saying? Oh, so you don't need to listen to me. No pressure to fall asleep. Oh, so no pressure to listen. Like, imagine that situation. I said, well, I guess I just did. I say, I'm going to talk about shoelaces. You don't need to listen to me. Like, in that situation, it'd be great because you could probably fall asleep on your own couch. And then in this, you'd say, okay, and Scoots won't be there when I wake up. I'll just be comfy and cozy in bed. So no pressure to fall asleep. No pressure to listen. The thing is, I'm going to be here for about an hour. So if you can't fall asleep, I'm here to keep you company just as much as I am to put you to sleep. Or to be here as you fall asleep. And that's about it. I really appreciate you checking the show out. I really work hard. I yearn and I strive because I want to help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to let you know, if you're a patron, you've been a patron in the past, or you're on the fence, you've been waiting to sign up for, you just keep sleeping and you say, well, I'm going to sign up tomorrow. Now's the time to sign up. We're doing a what is that thing called? Time capsule. I thought it was a time machine. That's what I almost said. We're doing a time capsule with all the names of all the patrons who support the show. It is opt-in, so don't worry if you don't want to be a part of it. To celebrate 800 episodes, over 100 million downloads, that your support made possible. The whole idea of value for value is like a community garden. I use that as an analogy because, while I'm there tending things, the water, the seeds, all the supplies the patrons make possible. And if you support the show by sponsors or spreading the word, you'll get a chance to participate too. So pay attention for those updates. But if you've been thinking about becoming a patron, getting those ad-free episodes, if you want to do it for that, or you just get value out of the show and you rely on it, or you listen to it on a regular basis and you say, hey, I want to give some value back for the work that goes into the show. And I like to know it's there for me and everybody else to listen to it for free. Go ahead and sign up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Starting at $5 a month, you get full ad-free episodes. And then at $20 or more a month, there's a lot of other cool stuff. So check it out, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Sign up today and get in on this time, not a time machine. I can't promise that. But get your name on this get your name in this time capsule, So somewhere in the future, people will say, wow, all those people, now that Sleep With Me has become, like something that's just, I don't know how it would work in the future, to be honest. The people in the future will know that, but we don't, around here, we don't worry about the future, right? We're making a time capsule in the present for the future because of all the support I've gotten, really. And I'm greatly, greatly appreciative of that. And there's still a chance to sign up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Thanks. All right, everybody. This is interesting because I don't know if we've done an episode exactly like this. We've done stuff along these lines, I guess you'd say. But this is really when making the podcast gets to be really, really, where I say, wow, there's an intersection of my personal history, my interests, and sleepy stuff. And so this is a once upon a time, but a real Scoot story. Probably it'll be, but like once upon a time, I wasn't, a sleep podcaster. I was just a kid. And, some people say, well, not just a kid, especially people that knew me, they would say it in a much different tone and such things. And I still am the oldest of 6 kids. And we would, I think it was for 1 week a year, my parents would rent a cabin at a place on Oneida Lake called Sylvan Beach. And the family they would rent it from, they had a kid, there was a kid there my age, his nickname was Critter. And of course you probably heard of JJ, his older brother who played the drums, and was cool, and older than us. And, probably what I guess I never became like JJ. Cool, long hair, played the drums, probably rode a motorbike. So what's my point? One of the things I remember about these childhood years is particularly this one board game. And it really has become a little bit of a white whale for me. I guess a white whale within budget, because they probably, by the time you listen to this, I'll have made the move, but I haven't made the move yet to buy one on eBay. I have made eBay-type moves, which I'll explain in a second. But so we would go to, let's see. So oldest of 6 kids, you're not buying, even back then, board games, probably the prices have not increased as much with whatever they call that, inflation, as other things have. I would say that board games have probably always been between $10 and $30. I mean, now they're probably on the higher end of that and up. And plus with 6 kids, you just never bought a new board game. We weren't and there's not a lot of board games that 6 or even half of the 6 kids could play. And I don't have an exact memory of when this happened, but one of the things we do is probably go to garage sales and yard sales and flea markets. And we would pick our board games up there, along with other stuff to play with. A really great place. I mean, pro tip, if you're looking to buy board games, like garage sales, I mean, eBay's probably made it more challenging because so many people are buying stuff and reselling it. But, other good places are Goodwill stores, and like those kind of stores, like secondhand stores. Sometimes, again, the selection's kind of been whittled down. But at some point along there, we went to one of those things, probably a garage sale, and we picked up a board game. And it was like it became the board game of my youth. And we didn't have it for very long, maybe only this one summer, maybe for 1 or 2 weeks. Maybe it was even Critters or somebody that they had gotten it used, but I'm pretty sure we got it used. Maybe we had it longer than that. And, you could search everything in the internet. And I think, okay, well, let's back up, Scoots, you're right. Before we get into any facts or research, so I just remember playing this game this 1 or 2 summers, and it was a vertical board game, or what you would call a 3D board game. It wasn't just flat. It had like an upward board going up because it was a mountain climbing game. And also because I was a kid, I was watching a lot of, what's that show called? Not Wheel of Fortune. Price is Right. And Price is Right has that yodeling. I don't know if anybody used to watch Price is Right or does. But at some points they have one game where there's like a yodeler, a mountain climber. I don't know what the game is. You're probably supposed to stop it at the right prices or something like that. Or you're narrowing down prices and it goes yodel, makes a yodeling type sound. And I think as a kid, that and Plinko were my big favorites on whatever that show's called, Price is Right. So this board game, we found it. It was used. It didn't have all of the parts, but it had most of the parts. And it was at least accessible for my brother, my sister, and I, which were within 2 years of age of one another, because my brother and my sister are twins. And not only that, with 6 kids and you're renting like a cabin or whatever, you want them, half of them outside at all times. So I can remember sitting outside near the beach playing this game and having a lot of fun. And if you're a regular listener, you know Scoots well enough to know, I'm not exactly easygoing would not be a way that's ever described me. Though it may have been, I can, so wound like a spring. So playing this game's always been like a treasured memory of mine. And I just really, so that's the setup. And then whatever, the game got lost in the shuffle of life. And again, I don't know if we left it at the cabin. It wasn't ours, like it was a neighbor's game. Or, just like kids, just like the movie that came out this summer, the Story of Toys. Sometimes kids, our attention gets distracted somewhere else. But this game always had a special place in my heart. And then it was actually like somewhere in the podcast, it would pop up every once in a while. And then on the podcast, it would come up, this mountain board game I had. And then again, I remember, I'm not exactly calm in all social situations either. And I have a tendency to overcompensate. So I remember a long time ago, this is like, so we're like not that long after I started the podcast, I would go to these podcasting meetups in San Francisco and, try to learn more about podcasting and meet other people that make podcasts and kind of see what was possible. But so I can remember meeting someone who had like different game-related podcasts, and they were doing it for a gaming company. And I said, hey, I think we were like talking about one thing, and I just went right off topic. And I said, I'm trying to figure out this one board game from my childhood. And I think I'd searched on like mountain climbing board game and I couldn't find anything. And they said, search Board Game Geek, I think was the site they told me to go to. And maybe I found it after that, or maybe I didn't, or maybe I was just searching the wrong way. And I said, one day I want to play that game again, or one day I want to get back in touch with it. Then maybe a year and a half ago, or right after I started podcasting full time, I started thinking about it. I think because it came up on the podcast. So I said, let me look on eBay and see if I could get that game. I think that was the year I was buying gifts on eBay for the most part. Maybe not, but whatever. So I looked up the game and I found it, and or maybe I just searched it. And at the time, there wasn't, either it was price prohibitive or there wasn't any actual games. But there were a few parts, and so I ordered the parts because they were like not that expensive, like a couple bucks, like, a boulder. And maybe there was even part of the game board. Now, I hadn't, for some reason, the last thing I bought at eBay, I had shipped to my work address, and somehow those parts got shipped to my old work address, and I'd heard from my coworkers, a few different ones, like, hey, we got this stuff here from eBay for you. I mean, very small stuff, and we'll get it to you. And then somehow in the it never made it, and I haven't followed up and been like, hey, you seen my my boulder from my 1980s board game, or my mountain climber piece or whatever. But so those are out there, and then I don't know, like I guess like when I'm recording this, it's summertime, so I was thinking about the game again. And then I said, why don't we do this as an episode? Like, we get to travel down memory road. I haven't really researched the game at all. And so as I talk about it, it'll be fresh for me. So why don't we see how that goes? Okay, so the first thing I have here that I found on an eBay search was, I found the name of the game. And then this is the assembly instructions for the game. So let's read through this first, and then we'll probably look at the box after this. So the name of the game is Oh What a Mountain, with what is that? What is it called when it's with an exclamation point? And it does have its own kind of interesting font, and it says Oh What a Mountain Game, and that's in a red rounded square or rectangle with a black border. And this is assembly instructions, and this is, see the box bottom for a photograph of the completely assembled game, and use that as a handy, quote, put-together guide. Okay, so this is if you bought it new, which we did not do, but it's like remove all plastic parts from the box, break off the pieces that are on plastic runners, refer to illustrations 1 through 7, group the following parts together. There's 4 pawns, 4 flag parts. The flag post, there's 4 pawns, see figure 1, 4 flag parts, the flag post, the connector, the flag peg, and the rubber band. 3 out on a limb parts. Yeah, so the other thing about this game was that it's like one of those infernal, like a machine where stuff happens. That was like because I never got to play that that other, whatever what are those games called? Incredible Machines. I know it has the thing, but so we never got to play, like Pee-wee, the thing that makes Pee-wee's Breakfast. So that was another thing, is like you could do one thing in this game and it triggers something in a different part of the board, which to me was just mind-blowing. 3 out on the limb parts, a limb and 2 limb clips, 2 big rock parts, a big rock and an arm, 2 bigger rock parts, a bigger rock and an arm, 2 battering ram parts, the ram and the connector, 2 bubbleable snowball parts, the snowball and the connector. And now the pressure-sensitive labels must be attached to the above parts. Those are stickers, pressure-sensitive labels. Figures 1 to 7 to show the correct positioning of the labels on the plastic parts. Just peel the labels from the sheets and press them on the rib side of the parts. Make sure the labels are positioned to fit exactly within the shape of the ribbing. So this only came with this eBay listing only has 2 pages of the instructions, and the second page is not readable. I think it's like figure 15, and it shows the back of the assembly, where there's the out on the limb assembly. I can't read anything else. A couple of the snows and something. So that's like a little bit about the instructions. Okay, let's check this other eBay listing here. And this eBay listing has an overall, like maybe even marketing picture, because it has the game set up, the 4 game pieces. So there's 4 game pieces and the cover of the box. But I want to get a little bit of deeper look before I get into it. See what kind of close-ups we have. Looks like it has board cards, climbing cards. This is kind of to show if you bought it, you'd kind of get all the pieces. Let's see what stats. This is over at BoardGameGeek.com. It was published by Milton Bradley. It has a 30-minute playing time, 2 to 4 players. Its overall rank on Board Game Geek is 270 out of children's games is 525. Complexity rating is a 1.6 out of 5. Its overall, it has a 5.0. I don't know if that's out of 10. Let's see, Milton Bradley, 1980 was published. I was probably playing this in 1980. 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. And yeah, let's see what else we can find here. I just got to find some good pictures. You probably have to hit up Google for that. Okay, so here's the inside. Like if you open the box, like on the or I don't know if this is the back of the box or what, but it says, "Oh, what a mountain game, a real cliffhanger. Who will reach the peak of the three-dimensional mountain first? Oh, what a mountain is. Oh, what fun. An exciting path that challenges you to find the quickest route up a very merry three-dimensional mountain." This is like the Right Asleep podcast. On the climb, you might go ram watching, meet the snowball, or the falling rocks. They're hazards that actually move. So Eddie Hazard, pushing, sweeping you and your fellow climbers from the path and back to the the aiding climber station at base camp number 1. Don't forget the deep dark cave either. Wow. So this is like Deep Dark Night. They have a deep dark cave. You could easily get lost in it, but don't give up. Even though Oh, What a Mountain has its ups and downs, the first climber to reach the peak of the mountain is rewarded with a winner's flag that actually pops right up to announce the victory. Happy hiking. And this contains a three-dimensional game board and vertical mountain and baseboard, 24 climb cards, a game board, cardboard spinner, plastic spinner arrow, plastic game parts, those pressure-sensitive labels, 4 plastic pawns, and a rubber band. And it has a sneak peek of the peak shown completely assembled here. For more details, see assembly instructions inside the game. So this must be the back of the game. Let's see what else we have here. And looking through here. Here's a couple of the climb cards flipped over. You may send any other player to base camp 2. It's a beautiful day for climbing. Go ahead 2 spaces. You get a long-distance phone call from your mom. Go to base camp 2. And I guess because the game was made on the cusp of the 70s and the 80s, it is very 70s, the art, in a very cool way. So looking at the spinner, it only has 4 stops on the spinner. So it goes 1, 4, 2, 3. Very 70s, like font for the letters. 1 is kind of a brown background. 2 has a yellow background. 3 has an orangish red. And 4 has purple. And then it's a kind of a circle with like a rope style border. And then some like very 70s, like psychedelic rams. I mean, psychedelic in a fun way, rams on it. And hopefully I could get a better look at the climbing pieces, but there's 4 game pawns. They have a little hook like you're climbing. And then there's a cartoon character in lederhosen. So a very stereotypical mountain climber if you watch a lot of whatever that game show was, I said, Funning of Life. What was it called? Not Wheel of Fortune. Showcase Showdown. No. Wheel of Fortune. No. How can I not? Price is Right. So it looks like that climber even has a hat or something, something out of the Alps, alpine climber. The cartoon's the same on each one, but there's a red, green, yellow, and blue climber. Let's see. There's one thing that says on the board, like one of the pieces that comes out. I don't know if it does anything. It must. And this is just a close-up. It says out on a limb. And it's a plastic piece protruding. It's a protuberance, I guess, from the mountain. It's orange plastic and with a pressure-sensitive label or sticker. And it shows a giant bird and a climber on a branch that says out on a limb. And the bird is looking at the climber, and the climber's looking at the bird saying, oh, dear, I'm out on a limb with a bird. And it's very fun looking. Here's okay, maybe this is what I ordered on the internet. The Abominable Snowball. That's at elevation 1800. And there's a snow person with what is that thing called? Umbrella. Like snowing on an umbrella. That's just a background decoration. So lots of details. I wonder if then the bigger rock is actually a rock you hook in. So instead of when you go to the vertical on the board, there's holes, and you put your hook in the hole. You know, I wanted my daughter to experience this, and she was a big Scooby-Doo fan. And so, like, when she was a little bit younger, I bought 2 different Scooby-Doo games that were 3-dimensional. One was like, I don't think they were based on the Scooby-Doo movie, but one was where you're climbing a mountain, and you can get, like, there's different things that can happen that dislodge you. The rules were not great as far as the rolling and stuff. Like, I can't remember how you determine how many spaces you went, but it was like, it was a little bit of not as fun, maybe. Okay, I'm looking at the big board here. Then the lower board. Okay, let's look at this. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Okay, so this is a baseboard. It must not be the first thing, though. Oh, yeah, there's start. So at the start is a lederhosen wearing mountain climber or shorts. He doesn't have, I don't know, lederhosen shorts. He has long green socks pulled up to his knees. He has like a pickaxe and a backpack and a rope. He's wearing a dress. What is that thing called? Like a pink sport coat or a magenta. Yeah, I guess a magenta sport coat. With a dress shirt underneath it. He's smoking a pipe, which is not surprising. I mean, I would think they would be smoking a different pipe, though. And he has a feather and a hat, one of those mountain climber hats. He's actually on all fours. And the letters start are running up his back leg. And then I guess you got a 1. The first thing you would land on is your new hiking shoes are great. Go again. If you got a 2, you'd just be on a space with a pine tree. If you had gotten a 3, you would get Hollywood buys the movie rights. Go to Lower Meadow. And it's Hollywood is written on like a fake dollar bill with like money and movie cameras. And it's being held up by like a French film director, I would assume, because they have a beret and the same pipe-smoking lederhosen climber. Then the next thing is the Last Chance Camera Store, but it doesn't have any action. Then the next stage is a TV interview. You get to go again if you land there. And it kind of shows the lederhosen pipe smoking dude being interviewed by someone in a shirt, a suit and a tie. And there's a TV camera. Then there's an apple tree with dropping apples. That's just like nothing. Then there's the Lower Meadow, which is really like a lot of this art is cool. It has a cow. It has a stream. It has a fish. It has another apple tree. There's another deciduous-looking tree. You can see the mountain in the background. Oh, here we go. So then the next one is it shows the mountain climber taking a picture of a bird, I think. This is where it gets comedic. And the pickaxe is resting on the ground, and there's a fuzzy friend, a teddy poo going through the mountain climber's backpack as they take a picture of a bird. And then the next thing is like, it looks like a picture was taken. And it says, Teddy poo eats your camera. Go back to camera store. So if you land in this next thing, you have to go back to the camera store. Then the next one is a bird who is just in the sky by itself. Then the next place on the board is it's a sun smiling and looking up, and it says, good weather, go again. And then there's a rainbow on the other side. And then there's another space that says, another forest friend, GROWLS is at you. Move back 2 spaces fast. And then there's an arrow to start the game. Also, there's other art on the bottom board, though. There's one that says a little pass. There's an owl. There's flowers. There's rocks. There's hedge buddies. So a lot of cool stuff. Let's see what we could see next here in these pictures. Oh, here's the picture of the summit where the flag is popped up and it says winner. Okay, here's a picture of the cover that's pretty good at the top. Actually, it must be from a commercial because there's like behind the board game is like someone in white gloves is holding it like a magician. And it says, oh, what a mountain game. Sky-high fun with Eddie Izzard's that push, stuff, sweep you from the mountain path. Watch out for, let me see if I can zoom here, battering ram. It will get your goat. And it shows the cartoon ram. The bubbleable snow buddy, it's rolling your way. The falling rocks, look out below, and the deep dark cave, easy to get lost in. It says ages 6 to adult, 2 to 4 players. The first one up the mountain, Milton Bradley. And then it has 2 kids, very well dressed, very 70s, 80s, a young boy and girl. The boy has like a blue sweater and a dress shirt on, and his hair is very well combed. And he seems to be manipulating the out on a limb thing. So I don't see any game pieces on. Oh, no, I do see one. Maybe he's messing with his sister or his companion who's in a green sweater and like a dress shirt or part of another thing. She has a barrette in her hair that's pink or red. And she's giving her brother a look like, oh, boy, did you just out on a limb me? And the brother has a more like a little bit devious look of, yes, I did. They're also playing in front of a fireplace with a plant. I mean, probably a bit of a set. Okay, so let's see a couple other pictures here of it before it's put together. But, of course, what I'm looking for is, like, climbing cards or really good pictures of the game here. Oh, is this a, like, commercial? Yeah, here's one. Uh-oh. Oh, no, that's a different game. Uh-oh Mountain. So, yeah, there's other mountain-themed board games, Scoots. Not just yours. Here's one from another place. It shows like all the pieces in a nice bag. Don't worry, I'll find a really good picture of the game board, believe me. Okay, so I'm going to have to go back and forth. I have a couple different pictures I'm going to switch back and forth between because I have one really good picture of the game board, but it doesn't have the pieces on it. So when we go past the forest friend on the floorboard, then you go up this orange path, and then you're on the 3-dimensional vertical. And again, a lot of these games are based on like the Game of Life, I think, which was very popular. I don't know. I don't know if these games have any strategy or if they're just pure luck. I think they're just pure luck, but fun for little kids, I guess, to a certain age. But on this one, I guess the first thing you do have is a choice of left or right. And I guess if you go right, it's a different thing. So if you go left, you can go out on a limb, which I don't know what that means. So we'll have to take a look at that. The next one is climb up a rope. And I guess the brown thing is the base camp 1 is coming up. Okay. So you could climb up a rope if you land on that thing, and then you climb up a rope into base camp 1, which is cool. So, and you also get a climb card. And the next thing is a climb card. Then the next one is a snowball, which I think means you get to trigger the snowball way up top. And if anyone was in the path of the snowball, then they have to go back down. Let me check this other picture I have. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's the ram. So where's the snowball? Oh, snowball's up at the top. So, yeah, you would trigger the snowball, and if anybody's in the snowball's path, they'll be, out of luck, which would be fun for you, not the other person. Then you could go direct to base camp 1. There's also the hole where if you go into the cave, you come back out, and if you come out of the cave with a 1, you land on go ahead 3 spaces, which would be 1, 2, 3. So then the next one is go to base camp 1. The next is just a blue empty space. The next one is out on a limb. Then snowball. So a lot of opportunities to trigger the snowball. Then go again. Then if you land on the next one, you get to go to bigger rock. Then again, if you land on the next one, you go to out on a limb. And then you could go straight or left. That would be people coming out of the cave or that didn't get to advance to base camp 1. That went left on the original path. Now, if you went right on the original path at the first thing, also there's tons of, again, background decorations. So there's, at the cave exit, there's a, what is that called? A teddy poo. There's a turtle. There's trees. The turtle's very psychedelically 70s. There's a rabbit, a couple birds, a squirrel, a couple goats eating vegetation. Definitely different vegetation, straight out of even the 60s, maybe, the way the trees and the plants look. Beetles. Was that Yellow Submarine-esque? Okay, but if you went right, you would end up, what is that? The first rock that you get to go on, which I guess kind of wobbles. So you'd go climb card, blue let me see. Let me see if I can find one more image. Okay, so you have, what do you call it? Maybe out on a limb shakes the whole board. I'll have to read more about it if I can. But so if you go right, you go on a big rock, where there's it looks like there's one space where you can get a climb card. Yeah, but other than that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 hooks that you have to get through. And maybe when I examine the back of the board, I'll be able to figure that out. Then you come out of the big rock. You have to go right. So let me switch. I have to switch up again and look. There's even a phone booth outside where you would call your mom, I guess, at base camp 1. I just noticed that. So yeah, let's see what else. There's a lot going on these boards. Okay, so if you went right, you could go again. Then you could, you would still go right to a climb card. A couple other blank spaces, and then I think you'd go to Bigger Rock. Let me see how it's like, this is a resolution on these games on the internet of games nobody play anymore isn't great. And this one I'm looking at, it looks like either Bigger Rock could totally tumble, or maybe, no, whoever had that picture didn't put the game together right. Yeah, let's see what else we have here. But yeah, it looks like you would go on that a Bigger Rock, which is kind of the same thing. If the board gets shaken, your rock could tumble. Then you get a chance to trigger another snowball. So if you took the two rocks, it is a faster way because it's just riskier. Then you could send any member to the cave, which sends them from pretty far up, out back to nearly the beginning. So I guess, yeah, a lot of times you think. Then there's another one, go ram watching, which is a big piece on the other side of the board. A climber card. Then a blank space, go to base camp 1. And you can go left or right if you don't get land there. There's a blank space, then a climb card, then thin air, where you lose your next turn. There's even one of those hounds that brings you hot cocoa up there, an eagle, other birds, other horned animals. Elevation is 81,000 feet, I think. And I think then you summit from that side. If you went right, you could go down 3 spaces and then work your way to the summit. Yeah, but let's work our way back to base camp 1. I think that's where we were before. Yeah, at base camp 1, you could take a walkway up a narrow ledge. That goes to base camp 2, which again goes up to the climbing up on the bigger rocks. And there's even someone sleeping in base camp 2, which is funny. If you go left, or you're coming from the cave, you could go left or right. If you go left, you can do ram watching, which I think watches the ram knock other people off. Yeah, we'll go through that later. And then climb card, a couple things out on a limb. I think a couple places where you're in path of the snowball. Then there's one that says go into the cave, the deep dark cave, like the deep dark night on the podcast. And then you're kind of back towards getting closer to the summit. Now, if you went the other way, so I like how there's so many different possibilities. Well, I don't see any strategy. I can see why we've replayed it so much time. The other way, you get a climb card, go sunbathing on Bigger Rock. Another one where you have to go on the cave. Another one where you could go left or right, and then you trigger the out on the limb. One where you would lose your next turn. Another one where you could send any climber to the cave. And the other way, you would go towards Bigger Rock. And yeah, so let me see. So when you're in the lower part of the board, ram is the one that could slide from left to right on a vertical slant and knock you off a bunch of spots on the board. And then on the upper left side of the board is where the snowball is. That starts near the snow person and could kind of bump you. It goes in a little bit of a back and forth motion, which must have been fun to watch either one of those happen if someone was in its path. And then, the rest is getting towards the summit. Then on the other side are the 2 rocks. I'm going to see if I can find anything with the back of the game, though, because maybe that was over on Board Game Geek. Board Game Geek does have a pretty cool 4-panel picture of the ram going in like an action shot of someone playing. There's a duck pond that I didn't see anywhere before. In another climber, watching the ram with binoculars. And yeah, the ram's making a move on on another climber. Let's see what else we got here. So that's the game. I know there's one of the back of the game somewhere. Maybe I just find it, it's like teasing me here. Out on a limb. I still want to see how this out on a limb works. The cave is pretty straightforward. It's like a chute that drops you to the bottom of the cave. And the out on the limb, I guess, I don't know if you flick it and it shakes both of those other rocks clearly. So you, like, if you do the out on the limb, you're kind of shaking anyone near the other two rocks. It looks like they could go from vertical to horizontal. And the rocks, like, so they're parts of the game board that are actually motion sensitive, I guess. And it looks like the out on the limb, maybe that's where the rubber band is. Let me see. No, but it's like a slider. I guess that would slide those two things. I don't see, the rubber band's to make the flag go up. And let's see what other pictures we got. Climb card. Abominable snow bubble snow person. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if any other cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool art here. I'll link to my research. But it's just funny because it's like stuff you forget about, you know, and then you're like, man. I mean, I guess now I'd wonder if the game had enough. Since it doesn't have strategy, I guess I would wonder if I would enjoy it. But I can see why I enjoyed it as a kid. I'm looking through here to just kind of see what else. Some eBay pictures, any other nice details. It was just a nice, fun game. So I'm sure there's like probably a game maybe that you had, that maybe you played. Oh, here's like an inside shot of the box. It's only of a corner of it, but it talks about the game board, how it actually moves, kind of some of the stuff we talked about. Object is to be the first player of the mountain. It talks about setting up the game, but then it's cut off. Shuffling the 24 climbing cards. But I kind of looked up a little bit. I took a break there and looked on eBay for more. But yeah, there's not really any more details. This is like a kind of fun thing. And I think when you think about like how would I tell my own bedtime story, like that might be another good place for you to start. Is like Tales of the Tape or board games you kind of remember, or board games you do remember. Like if you really like are in a situation maybe where you're trying to get to sleep or you're trying to help someone else get to sleep, you know, just take like a game like SORRY. Why are the games all named like that? Like think about it, TRUOUBLE, like maybe change it up, like a good, yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you tonight about the game Good Livin'. It's the game of good living. No, maybe, well, let me tell you about this game called Operator. No, well, maybe not about that game. Let me tell you about the game Chutes and Ladders. No, then that's Candyland. Oh, I don't think I looked at that, but I don't remember it. Let me tell you about the game Bog. Like, okay, let's talk about one of those SORRY ones. You got to slide. There's pieces, right? So you set up your pieces at a start place or something. Everybody starts at a different corner. And then you kind of just walk people through it like that, bit by bit, step by step, like one step at a time. Okay, and then you do this. What do you say? I think you roll dice in this one. And I don't think there's any cards. I think you're just rolling two die, or a pair of dice. And two people can't share a thing. So if you get, or you're on a slider, you have to go back to start. And then you're trying to get all your pieces into the safety zone and then to the ending place. And yeah, it can be for FRUS, you know, but it's a fun game where you say, sorry, go back to start, buddy. And, you know, or maybe not board games. Maybe we should, like, maybe think about Scoots' board games. Climbing the mountain where there was no strategy. So you just say, sorry, I landed on the snowball piece. The snowball's got to go down. Hopefully it doesn't knock your piece off. I mean, for me, it was that idea of like, oh, if you do something up here, it impacts something down there. It was just so joyful. It brought me joy. Made me feel like I was already a part of technology. So that's it. A little board game from my youth. Oh, what a mountain. Oh, what a joy it is to put you to sleep. Thanks for listening. All right, I want to thank everybody who reviewed the podcast recently over at Apple Podcasts. The amazing Doug says Scooter should be up for snooze hood. It didn't take me 2 or 3 times for the podcast to work. Worked immediately. That was years ago. Probably in the 200s or 300s after several years and hundreds of episodes later, it still works. I don't always fall asleep, but Scooter's there with me no matter what, whether I knock off before the intro or I'm 3 episodes deep. Point is, I'm not alone. For someone that deals with a lot, that means the world. Honestly, I believe Scooter wants to help people. It's earnest. I feel the love he puts in the show. It's more than a podcast. It's a service. Yes, thank you, Doug. And an important one, I'm happy to finally be in a position by support, giving value for value on Patreon. And it feels good to know I'm supporting the show for those who can't support it, just like others have done for me. I hope one day I'll meet Scoots in person. That'd be cool, Doug. I can thank him, and hopefully I don't wake Doug up here, though. Okay. So thank you to Doug, and Doug says, I'm no longer alone in the deep, dark night. Then I Love Llama, S-P-I-T, from Sweden. Perfect content and a voice that will put you to sleep, dull monologues, a host that wanders from the point, enough humor and fantasy to make them fun and soothing to half listen to when you actually can't sleep or when you're half asleep. Some people don't like the voice of the host. It might be an acquired taste, but he seems to be born to do this podcast, and I would never want to switch his voice if that was possible. It's part of what makes the show do its magic. The only thing besides sleeping pills that helps me go to sleep, I've tried everything, including podcasts, apps, kind of like Bob Ross of soothing podcasts, eccentric, kind, and weird. This seems to love what he does. I'd recommend listening to the show in a very unfocused way. Thank you, Llama. Thank you, I Love Llama, S-P-I-T. Just like an unfocused way and just let the show flow in through one ear and out the other. Oh, that's a good analogy. I like that. I'm going to have to borrow that. Which is exactly the thing you normally try to avoid when you're listening to a lecture. Now it is okay. Just listen to like you listen to the rain, unfamiliar languages, or hypnotic, monotonous music. Sometimes you can't help yourself and you actually end up listening to the longer parts. That's okay. It's designed to help you relax and zone out sooner or later. RG says, this is great. I don't have to manufacture thoughts myself. Someone else is, and not so fascinating. I need to stay awake, but not so boring. My mind wanders away. Just right. So nice to drift off to. Best podcast, sleep podcast ever. That's, give it a try. You won't regret it. It's from JDJ, AJ, FNK, SJXMA. Meg Boren 92 says, great podcast to sleep to. I love how there's so much content so you can listen all night long. Perfect pacing for sleep. Thank you. This must come from someone that's not BB88. It's number 9 is the best number. Thanks, Scoots. Haven't been able to sleep for so long until I tried this. A lifesaver. Cheddars says, I never hear the ending, so clearly it works. That's pretty much it. And from Australia, that was from Australia. And then also Edos says, big thanks. Sorry I don't even make it to the theme song. Thank you so much. And I wanted to thank people that wrote stuff on Cast Box FM, Cast FM, Castbox, I think it's called. Let's see. Dylan asks, talks about my nub, and says good news. And also they have a noob, so the nub noob. So thanks, Dylan. That's good info. Yeah, so join the Nub Club. Maggie says hi. Manny says hi. And likes the Radish Commander. Let's see. I think this is an old one. Emily did not like the show, but Maul said, was trying to describe how the podcast works with the tangents, and kind of like one person that understands the show goes nowhere and has no tangents, and then another that just doesn't work for it, which is totally natural. So thanks everybody who reviewed the show or comments in other places I don't necessarily see too. You could always get me at Dear Scooter on Twitter. It's a good place to try to get a hold of me. But I really appreciate it. That's how Sleep With Me grows, is people that just naturally spread the word about the show. And we exist as a free podcast because of people that support the sponsors and support the show directly. So I really appreciate everybody that brought us the show tonight by their actions. I appreciate that. We're a proud member of Night Vale Presents. You could check out all the amazing shows Night Vale Presents has over at nightvalepresents.com, including deep into its second season now. I only mispronounce words I say. I only listen to the Mountain Goats. You got Joseph from Welcome to Night Vale and Alice, and you got John from the Mountain Goats talking about recording the latest album, In League with Dragons. Building up as they're making the album before it was released, interviewing great guests, and really podcasts. If you like the creative process, you like either one of those. You like the Mountain Goats, you like Welcome to Night Vale, or just like learning, about that thing right there that I'm touching. That ideally the podcast lands on in a different way, right there. Check out I Only Listen to Mountain Goats wherever you consume your podcasts. And also, we're also a member of PRX. You can see all the amazing work they're doing at prx.org. And that's it. I got plenty of other episodes ready to go, though, if you need them. Okay? Yeah, go ahead and let me tuck you in there. Good night.